Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Hazell, and I work for Innovate UK, the UK's innovation agency. Everything we do is about supporting business innovation and driving economic growth. I support the Small Business Research Initiative, which is aimed at driving innovation in the public sector and has supported many of the GovTech programmes in the UK. Hence, I'm very excited to be supporting GovTech Week, and I have the honour of chairing this showroom today, getting business back on track. As we're all aware, COVID crisis has disrupted all of our lives, and it's been particularly difficult for businesses during this pandemic. However, with crisis, there can also be opportunity. And today we have the pleasure to listen to 5 organisations that have looked towards innovation to meet the challenges in this new world. Each presentation will last about 7 minutes. And firstly, I would like to introduce you from Lithuania, Bankera.
Hello all, I hope you can hear me. My name is Justinas, and today I would like to share with you the solution that we made as a team, as Bankera team, for businesses that are suffering from COVID-19. So I hope you can see my slides. I hope everything is fine. So yes, a brief introduction. Our company is called Bankera. We're a fintech based in Lithuania. My name is Justinas. I'm working as a business development manager for Bankera. So the problem that immediately stood out when we checked the small and medium businesses at the beginning of the coronavirus, it was that many of these operations, they stopped. And once the operations stopped, they immediately realized that there is a sudden shortage of cash. Businesses had no cash flow, and that was a problem to many of them. So, for example, if there was a dental clinic, and previously, prior to pandemic, they ordered some equipment, some dental chairs, but they had to stop their operations as a result of the pandemic. So simply, the problem is very simple, like they couldn't pay their suppliers, and they have to pay not to their suppliers, but also any other typical business costs, wages, rent, and so on. Now, this is a problem not just to the business itself, but also to a larger ecosystem of a business partners. So if a company goes bust, so not just the current invoice will not be paid, but also any future business will be lost between the businesses. So it is of no interest, to the ecosystem that one player gets bankrupt, because it can affect the whole chain of buyers and suppliers. Now, many of these businesses that have cash flow issues, it's not that they're bad businesses, it's just that the circumstances are like that, and it's internally they are good businesses. And some of those businesses that tried getting support, for example, from the Lithuanian government, they couldn't do it because they couldn't pass the eligibility criteria. So what we propose is actually rather a simple solution, nothing super groundbreaking, but we suggested financing to small and medium businesses with an option to get an additional guarantee from their business partner. Because a simple business on its own, in many cases, will not be able, it has problems. So in many cases, it will not be able to get financing. But if its business partner chips in and provides additional guarantee, this is one way to get financing. And we also proposed an option for the business that's taking financing to repay later, because now they're struggling, but once they're back on its feet, they can make the repayments. The types of expenses that we can finance are quite standard. So invoices from suppliers, also invoices from buyers if company needs cash immediately. Also simple business needs, like I mentioned in the beginning, paying for wages, paying for rent, and so on. This product is first starting in Lithuania. We have plans to extend to the wider EU, but now it's just in Lithuania. The financing amount starts from 2,000 euros, interest rate from 1% per month. And so far it's just short-term loans, so from 1 to 24 months. The project that I'm presenting to you today was actually born as a result of Bankera's participation in a hackathon organized by the European Commission. It was called EU versus Virus, and it took part in April and in May, and it was the largest hackathon organized ever. And we as Bankera, we participated in the digital finance category and presented the solution, and it won the category. Then we had some time to bring the product to live, and actually the product is live now. So if you know any businesses that would need financing, we very much welcome them to Bankera, and we'll see what we can do. And a very brief overview about us. So we're not just a startup. We've been in business for some time. We have a payments infrastructure because the main business of Bankera is providing payment services. We have a team of 100 plus members, and it includes all the typical departments from IT, design, project management, and so on. And also we've been here for 7 years. So yeah, this is our solution, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justinas. That was a really interesting talk and a really important topic as well. I think we certainly have seen a similar situation in the UK with the amount of businesses needing to raise that extra money to keep going. So it's a really fantastic efforts. I will take you up on the offer of just one question before you go.
Sure.
So I'm really interested to understand, how many customers do you currently have, and how do you see, this continuing to grow over the coming years as the pandemic, starts to ease off or maybe comes to a second wave?
Yeah. Okay. So Bankera as a whole has, it's been operating for a longer time. So it has, both corporate and individual customers. With this new effort, we're starting very slowly because we don't want to get a lot of customers without having the proper system, the insurance in place, risk management procedures in place. So we're starting very slowly. I can't give you the exact numbers. We have interest, but of course, first we want to test it out in real environment, and then we can scale it, from Lithuania to other EU countries.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Right, so now I would like to introduce to you from Scotland, the Scottish Tech Army.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peter Jaco. I'm one of the co-founders of the Scottish Tech Army. We are a volunteer organization. We were founded actually 4 months ago this week. We launched on the 28th of April. I set up the Scottish Tech Army with my fellow Edinburgh-based entrepreneur, Alistair Forbes. We came up with this idea that during lockdown, there were a number of very talented people, all of them technologists, and other people that work in the IT area across the spectrum that for reasons beyond their control had either lost their job or were actually furloughed. And we felt that we could actually offer these people something meaningful to do and put their skills to use. And hence we came up with this idea called the Scottish Tech Army. I have a day job where I chair 2 tech companies. Alistair himself is also an entrepreneur and had also been a venture capitalist. One of the pro bono pieces of work that I do is actually advise the Scottish government on innovation and technology. So I sit as a board member for a group that's actually within the Scottish government's digital directive, which is called CivTech. CivTech will be known to many on this call through the CivTech Alliance. It's an organization that actually runs a GovTech program on behalf of the Scottish government. They're now on their 5th intake, and it's been very successful in generating hundreds of jobs and actually indeed getting very important early stage contracts from government to small companies. And that's something that very much appeals to me. So, and as I was a board member of CivTech, and Alistair and I pitched this idea to the CivTech management team and also the director of digital for the Scottish government, Colin Cook, Trish Quinn, and Mark Elliott, who runs the CivTech program, and also Alexander Holt, of course, was made aware of this idea, and they were very, very supportive. So from the early days, we've had a co-joined piece of work with that. We will do some project work with the Scottish government. We are a not-for-profit company, so we're not trying to compete with any other organization. But we also realized that we just couldn't rely on projects from the Scottish government. So when we set up the website, and everyone's welcome to look at the website and join, of course, it's scottishtecharmy.org. And we recruited we made two calls. One was for volunteers, the other was for projects. And we have been humbled by the amount of people that have turned up on both sides. Right now, we've had nearly 1,200 volunteers come through, and we've actually in the process of either having delivered or delivering over 130 projects. Some of those, as I mentioned, are for the Scottish Government. Many of those are for the Scottish third sector or charity sector. We've helped hundreds of charities, everything from access to websites or access to data within their networks, but also, very importantly, for them to reach out not just to their beneficiaries, but also their benefactors. So we've been helped charities digitize. And this is something that we're looking to do going forward. You know, we're 4 months post lockdown now and coming into very much into the recovery side of COVID, country by country. The situation is very different. Here in Scotland, of course, we've had some recent outbreaks, but also, you know, we are of a mindset that we must get back to work, hence the theme of this call today. And so what we're doing within the Scottish Tech Army to assist that is that we're going to be building a core team led by Alistair. I will step back to a board and strategic position. So I will no longer be operational, but Alistair, with a core group of 5 to 6 people, will run the control of the Scottish Tech Army. We will take on many, many volunteers that we already have, but also new volunteers. So if you're a recent graduate or you've come through a Code Clan training academy here in Scotland, you'd be very welcome to join the Scottish Tech Army and get real life project experience working on real projects, many of which will be in Scotland's charity sector. A big outcome for us is to help the volunteers with their digital skills development. So as the economy starts to recover, we can actually build up and get these people back into work as quickly as possible. The side benefit and side target of ours is to digitize as many of Scotland's charities as we can. So hence it's a dual win. We create the next generation of early stage Scottish technologists and give them experience, and we also help a sector which is under digitized and is poor at the moment with IT skills, particularly as the COVID-19 pandemic has cut back economic activity. So we're trying to very much to join up Scotland. We're working with Scotland is the largest trade association. We're working very closely with Code Clan, the digital skills development agency, as I mentioned, and we're also working with Scottish Government and also many of the technology companies across Scotland. We're also in talks with Scottish Enterprise. So as I say, we're a volunteer organization. We'll take any help or advice we can, but it has been a remarkable experience and as to how to build a community during some very dark days. And this community will be enduring. And we believe once you're a member of the Scottish Tech Army, you never actually leave. So although we've seen hundreds of people come in and many, many people return to work, we celebrate everyone going back to work. We built a great network and a really supportive community. So as I say, if you want to know more, please join our website. You'll be directed to our Slack channel. And we're very open about how we operate in terms of our triage process and all the projects that we're running. So you can have a firsthand experience by looking at our website and materials. But I'd like to thank you for the invitation today and wish everyone well throughout the rest of the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. That was a really impressive talk and really, fantastic numbers to see the amount of, volunteers and the number of projects. Just before I let you go, just maybe one quick question. Just like to really understand, from your experience, what advice would you like to give to, other organisations and other countries that, are inspired by what they've heard today and want to try and do something similar?
Yes, well, thanks very much for the question. We have been approached by numerous people. We're always happy to talk to people about how this has worked. And as I said, be very open in terms of sharing our processes. So if people want to adopt a similar sort of model, we think the Army happened in a very unusual space. Like Scotland is, as we know, a smallish country, 5 million plus people. The technology community is very much a village. You keep bumping into people at various events, so it's a very social and enterprising marketplace. But we think similar communities, of course, could happen elsewhere. And it is all about the strength of the community. As I say, we're not charging anyone for any of the projects we run. We also do not want to compete with people. And one of the big things we're trying to do now, of course, is set up spin-outs from the Scottish Tech Army, where people have gained experience. They're now trying to set up companies to service the third sector as well. So we're very engaged and happy to talk to anyone else about how we've helped to join up Scotland's community during this crisis.
Thank you very much. Right, so we'll move on to our next speaker now. So it's my pleasure to introduce from Estonia, Zelos.
Okay, hello from Estonia. I'm Johanna from Zelos, and we are tackling the problem of large-scale collaboration, how to delegate work to a lot of people in a world where most of us are freelancers or hourly contractors, and we're very likely to work remotely or from home, because this is where the future of work is going. Right now, about 32% of businesses are replacing full-time employees with contingent workers. Gig workers offer workforce management flexibility, and this is a very obvious cost-saving feature for us. And for a while already, this trend has obviously been towards this job hopping, short-term contracts, portfolio careers, to both millennials and now also Generation Z. And the COVID crisis has really accelerated this process. So we're moving from job titles to skills and expert roles. We're moving from managers assigning jobs to people to transparent skill matching on marketplaces and platforms. We are moving from rewarding level and tenure for people to rewarding the outcomes and reputation of their work. So hashtag gig economy, hashtag contingent work is where we live in. And that is where we are building to support this brand new world, Zelos. This is a live task dispatch app where your team members subscribe to you and pick up work on a first come, first served basis. And this has been proven to be a really wonderful tool for quickly mobilizing communities and collectives during the COVID crisis. And I'd like to share with you a couple of case studies. So COVID Help in Estonia was a volunteering hub where people at risk could ask for help and volunteers could pick up these requests and go help them. Most of the requests on this platform were about contactless grocery deliveries, pharmacy visits, picking up parcels, and so forth. The project was registered on the platform during a hackathon, Hack the Crisis Estonia, and over the next 72 hours, there were 2,000 users who joined the platform to provide these services for people at risk in Estonia. And during the lockdown in Estonia, which was a couple of months this spring, the average request response time was much under 15 minutes. So the volunteers managed to react really quickly. So a few weeks later, we helped similar initiatives launch in multiple other countries worldwide. And here's two most successful instances that we've seen so far. There is Paliets Majas in Latvia. They're also dispatching volunteer support with daily rounds for at-risk individuals. And there's Pitch in South Africa. They are crowdsourcing civilian help to help the NGOs in the area. But it seems that these collaboration mechanisms that work so well in community building and mutual aid, this can also be successfully used for managing teams for a for-profit environment. So I'd like to share a few examples of forward-looking companies that are already engaging their collaborators with our task dispatch on the Zelos platform. So here we go. Mina Mina. This is an initiative that started helping the Estonian farmers when the international workforce was blocked from entering the country during the lockdown. So they gathered a group of gig workers and dispatched them to strawberry farms on an hourly basis. Digimi Global, it's a content platform and they do a lot of digital marketing. And they run paid internship programs for the marketing department. Now in 2020, they have moved this fully online and they are using Zelos to distribute these deliverables to their interns. And as they also compensate them based on the deliverables, They keep track of this in the app. Võõrasõber, they provide occupational psychology sessions. And they are one of the very early adopters of Zelos, actually. They've used the app for already over a year to dispatch client requests to their network of collaborating psychologists. And the collaborators react very quickly on the app. They react on the notifications. And this allows the central office to confirm the session bookings to their client within minutes, not days and hours, minutes. At Zelos, we're excited to help companies react and adapt to this new world and these new ways of people management. So here's my email address for those who'd like to discuss some custom solutions. But it's also really easy to sign up for a free workspace on the Zelos website, getzelos.com. Zelos is a freemium service, so we're not charging projects that have under 500 users and use our generic apps. So thanks for the attention. Let's move on to a question.
Thank you, Johanna. That was another fantastic presentation and a really powerful tool. I look forward to investigating that a little bit later after this conference. One question I do have with you, I mean, you've gained, global expansion really rapidly. I just wondered, what is the biggest challenge you've faced as an organization sort of meeting this demand and working globally so quickly?
Well, scaling is always hard. So getting traction internationally in multiple markets is always a challenge. Not for us, for everyone who's trying to scale anything on a global scale. And as a startup, of course, our funds are limited, our networks are limited, but we see a lot of incoming requests, which proves us that there is a market for us. However, as I just said, this is pretty new for for-profit companies to do this kind of gig dispatch. As for years and years, it's been absolutely normal and standard to just have people sitting in the office. They are there whenever you need them. And now when we can't have that, the change that is rapidly happening, it's pretty tough. So for us, that also means a lot of education for our adopters, a lot of support that is needed there because, changing things is always hard.
Yeah, definitely a mindset change. So thank you very much for that. So right now we move on to our next presenter. So back to Lithuania, and I'd like to welcome Pard.app.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity. And I'm Lukas Gačius from Lithuania, and I'm communicator and manager of our social business Pard.app. So we started in March in Lithuania's hackathon, Hack the Crisis, which was aimed at all the problems that were caused by lockdown and quarantine. And the problem we tackled was that in Lithuania, 80,000 businesses were forced to close their doors, and being small brick and mortar shops, they have lost their main source of revenue. So a new way of generating income was needed. And digitalizing their businesses was tough, since creating a quality website for their business required knowledge, time, resources that many just don't yet have. Our sponsors, Enterprise Lithuania, launched a campaign with 100 people, and they helped more than 100 businesses to develop their e-shops and guide them in every step, setting up legal issues, payments, marketing, and more than 100 e-shops popped up in just a month. And we stepped up as well. We, in just a few days in Hackathon, created a website for vendors to simply upload their goods online and start selling. And it's very simple, actually. I can show you in just a few steps. Here, having my application. You should see my screen right about now. Yes, and here, I just take a picture of an item I want to sell. Add details.
description, the price, of course, how many you have, and post. And the item is up for sale. And you can manage your listings very comfortably. You can also manage your orders that you are receiving. These orders are coming from the website, and you can decline, accept them. Notifications are sent. You can also see what have you completed and all that. So now we have 80,000. We have 80 businesses selling on our platform, and they are selling anything from soap, juices, herbal teas, to infrared saunas. So you can see the price range, of course, and the selection is very big. Okay, I'll stop presenting, and yeah. And after the lockdown, now we have now that the lockdown is over, we have a close to home website that helps our beloved small enterprises to increase their revenue, have a nice place to kickstart their e-commerce business, gain visibility. We became a welcoming and close to home website selling nurtured and cared for products. And currently we're working on more precise location visibility, shop promotion, planning to implement delivery service since we have interested parties. And also this month we're launching our second marketing campaign to increase the customer flow. And yeah, we're open for partnerships, and we are fully open source. So if anyone wants to contribute in any way, it's very welcome. So yeah, that would be all for me. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you very much, Lucas. Great to see the product, and amazing, to get it ready so quickly. Guess really interested to understand, I guess, from a personal perspective, from what was the biggest thing that you learned trying to do this rapidly at pace?
Well, the biggest, of course, experience, most heartwarming experience that I had is the support that we gained. We got mentors, we got an accelerator program that is worth 15,000 euros, and we're still, and the accelerator just started. And Enterprise Lithuania, they helped us so much with legal. They set up us with lawyers and helped to set up all the necessary things around this shop that should make this project happen. So what I learned, that when in crisis, when something's bad happening, there's always very nice and generous and supportive and truly human-like people around us that can help us get through any bad things that could happen.
Fantastic, and really heartwarming to hear as well. I think we've seen that outpouring of resourcing, all around the world, and it's great to see, I guess, government working very closely with innovators like yourselves to make it all a success. So thank you very much. So now we move on to our final speaker of the day. So we go back to Scotland, and we'll be hearing from Vistalworks.
Hi, I'm Vicky. I have a foot in Scotland, and today a foot in Estonia. We originally set up Vistalworks in response to a Scottish Government CivTech challenge. The police and the tax board set a public innovation challenge asking if technology could help reduce the consumer demand for illegally traded goods online. And we found that a really interesting challenge. The team had background in risk scoring and data analytics, and we brought a really fresh approach to it. And as a result of working on that challenge for 3 months, we set up Vistalworks. And we set that up back in 2019, in March of that year. And the proposition that we developed was this concept of, is the bargain that you're seeing really all it seems? Because it's really high risk when consumers buy cheap or unknown products on online marketplaces. The products may never come and their credit details are stolen. The product may be harmful, or it may be smuggled, illegal, and otherwise dangerous. So we developed risk scoring technology to prevent and detect the online sale of either harmful or illicit, illegal products online. And the whole motivation for that has been to reduce both consumer demand and consumer exposure to harm, to help the police and trading standards and consumer protection agencies detect and prioritize online criminal sellers, because often what appears to be individual sellers actually have links to organized criminal gangs. And the point of this is so that countries and regions can prevent illicit trade online and protect their citizens. So we were working super well on that. Then COVID came along. And what happened was, as the legitimate economies contracted, as good law-abiding businesses found themselves in difficult positions and having to invest in protective equipment, maybe they'd lost their customers, the criminal market faced no such barriers. Everything went online overnight, from straight up drug dealing in the strongest drugs that you can find, through to online trading in illegal refrigerants and industrial products and pesticides. Overnight, online crime exploded. We did a lot of work. Our team worked for a month solid to update and release a whole swathe of consumer protection tools so that people could check before they bought. And we were particularly focused on things relating to COVID, like fake testing kits, fake antibiotics, masks, hand sanitizer, things that would really put people at harm if they used them, but maybe they were buying for the first time because they were afraid. And in just a couple of months during COVID, we had over 1 million consumers using our tools and checking before they bought. And in 20% of the listings that they were checking were actually high risk. At the same time, at the back of that, we provided and we continue to provide our law enforcement agencies and tax and customs clients with an intelligence dashboard that lets them really zoom in on where the online crime is, and they can filter that by jurisdiction, language, business sector, and priority. What we've found is that illicit trade is a global problem. The biggest barrier to enforcing it is jurisdiction, so local or national borders. Criminals ignore those, but enforcement agencies have to follow them. We've actually found it easier to think global first, hence us having a foot in both the UK and Estonia, and actually to build our technology with the thought of, how does this easily localize? How does this easily translate? How does this work in other currencies? Because that's the nature of online illegal trade. So we were really lucky. We were a very experienced team we all just happened to be entrepreneurs in search of our next idea when this challenge came out. So it was brilliant to work on a GovTech project because it helped us find our next big idea. It gave us a little bit of safety and a few months structure to work on whether this idea was a viable business. We were able to prove to ourselves that it was a viable business, which meant that it de-risked it for us. We knew we had a paying client once we'd actually solved the problem. And yeah, right now we are working on selling this technology and customizing and localizing this technology for multiple governments across Europe. And we're also starting to work with industry sectors like the chemicals industry, the alcohol and food industries, crop protection, who are all really seeing their competitiveness and their market share impacted by illegal sellers. So thank you. Oh, yeah, some of the people that we're working with. And yes, happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Great last presentation of the day to bring the session to a close. And I think also we'll all agree a really valuable product as well. I think we all need to make sure that what you pay for is what you actually get. So I look forward to hopefully using something like that in the future. You touched on it there at the end. I guess I'm really interested to ask you a question about the sort of feedback and response you have had from both the public and the private sector with regards to a new product like this.
Yes, I think the feedback has been really extremely positive. It has touched on a big international need, and I think that has been both the biggest challenge and the most exciting thing for us, is that very quickly, long before we would have planned to, we were having multi-country, multi-language inquiries. The UK isn't necessarily known for its skills in localization, shall we say, which is one of the reasons, I have a second office here in Tallinn. But the fact is, a year in, we're working on this technology in Polish, in Romanian, there's 3 other languages that we've got in development. And that global sense of the problem and global sense of opportunity has been incredible, and it's really what motivates me.
Thank you very much. So I guess as the session has now finished, I would just like to send my thanks on behalf of GovTech Week to all of you presenters for presenting today and giving up your valuable time to share your insights with us. And also thank you to the audience that joined us today via Zoom.